Have you ever wondered how come Buddha's statue never have him drinking water? Never have him eating from the alms bowl? Uh, uh, yeah, but have him, how's it? Oh, like that. Yeah, giving teachings. Yeah, then have him with the hand up. Yeah, with all the different signs. Yeah, because those in a way, uh, the moments of the Buddha's life where the that they want to capture, yeah, where the Buddha is um, doing something that is easily relatable to the Dharma, yeah, easily relatable to the Dharma. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha says that even when eating, even when wearing your clothes, even when shitting, yeah, peeing, one should be mindful. Yeah, one should do it knowingly with mindfulness. Yeah, but you notice that whether it's the Buddha or the disciples, there's rarely any. I don't recall any sculpture of the disciples when they are shitting. Why? Because for most people, when you if you see a sculpture of a monk shitting, you cannot think of the Dharma. Uh, Hard to think of the Dharma. So the sculptures usually closely related to the Dharma. Yeah, or if not direct expression of different expressions of Dharma. So any questions today? Any questions today? Yes, Danny.
Good morning, Sufu and everyone.
Good
I
morning.
read in the Dharma books that, and also heard from a few venerables that we need to do the second to second, minute to minute mindfulness every single moment, right? Of course, it takes a very long time of practice, but for me as a lay person, right, right now I just cannot fathom how is it possible. Right? If I can remember to be mindful just one time in every 2 hours, I consider it quite an achievement really. But let's say doing like second to second with the constant kind of mindfulness, right? I just cannot imagine myself being able to do it. So for lay person, like ordinary people like us, is it really possible, or you really need a very long period of training?
That's a good question. So, for lay people, we all need a long time to practice in order to reach that state where moment to moment, second to second, you are able to be mindful. Depends. Yeah. How many of you uh, are similar to Danny? Not so easy to be mindful moment to moment. Raise your hand. See, Danny, you're not alone. Some of them didn't catch my question. That's why I didn't raise the hand. Yeah, no, not true. Whether you're a lay person or not, it doesn't mean that you will not be able to do it. So some of you may be able to do it because you have been doing it for a while. Yeah. But for most people, you don't just start off doing it directly. You start off being mindful at this moment, at that moment, not moment to moment. Then gradually you become more and more mindful frequently. Yeah. So we have the formal sitting where we sit down and we put in effort to be mindful. And even then, the mind like to spin story, right? The mind, when we close our eyes, we don't have much stimulus. The mind doesn't have any storyline, right? So it is very smart. We go to our own library, yeah, pick out from the library all the different books, all the different DVD in our mind, and then play back and spin new stories about the old story. Yeah. Then after a while, maybe it spin new stories about future. Yeah. So when we are writing essay composition, as essay or composition in school, our mind sometimes go blank. But when we meditate, wow, the mind is so creative. I have all kinds of stories to tell. You hear one, then wow, immediately a lot of stories. Wow, full of stories. So maybe kids, when they are doing composition, they should just try to meditate. Immediately a lot of stories. But that's not the right purpose for meditation. So, but if you were to keep up the practice, then over time, we become more aware of our tendency to spin stories. And as we become more aware of that, then we can put in more effort, or we can put in the right effort to slowly, instead of allowing it, or instead of just thinking, yeah. Besides that, or instead of that, we 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 learn to direct the mind away from that, or just being aware of that. Just being aware of that, then that process start to lose energy. Yeah. Our thinking mind is very funny. It's like a little boy or a little kid. You know, little kid, when you leave them alone, then they talk on their own. Some kids are, not all kids are. Like let's say a little kid, then got a glue, then the little kid will, oh, wow, a lot of stories. Yeah. And if nobody is looking, wow, a lot of stories. Wow, then when an adult come around, and then two adults look at the kids, or one adult look at the kid maybe still not aware. But once the kid is aware that the adult is looking, then the kid immediately, then, then the story start to die down. Yeah, our thinking mind is quite similar. The moment you go and watch it, then it paiseh. Yeah. But in actual fact, what is happening is the observing mind is still mind. So imagine if you have a timeline where you can observe the thinking process, right? Then the mind is thinking. But if you are to start to be aware and apply mindfulness, then you are actually having, instead of thinking, now you are having thinking, mindful, thinking, mindful, thinking, mindful. So by the act of observing, you are actually interrupting the thinking process. Yeah. But if you don't really observe, this is just a concept to most people. Yeah. So usually in when instructions are given, this underlying process is usually not described, and it's usually mentioned as, oh, just being aware, then the thinking process will just go away. Nothing just happened one. It doesn't just go away. It goes away because you're interrupting it. Yeah. And you're interrupting it not just by inserting, but because when you are mindful, then you are not fueling it also. Yeah. You're not fueling it, actively fueling it. You're not fueling it. So it die out over time. Yeah. But when we meditate, we know that this is not immediately the case also. So sometimes you observe, you're aware, then sometimes the story is quite interesting. Well, then you find yourself observe halfway, then you also continue, like I also add stories. Yeah. So that's why when we meditate, sometimes so-called good sitting, sometimes not so good sitting. Sometimes our mind, we are quite quick to catch the thinking mind. Sometimes we catch halfway, gone with the thinking. Yeah. But if you are to keep up with this practice over time, then a few things happen. We become aware of the thinking mind faster. Yeah. And we are able to not just be aware, but we are also then we are able to introduce a different thing, which is redirecting the mind. Yeah. So the redirecting is actually samatha. So that means we direct the mind from thinking process to our object. Yeah. We are able to say, now observe this. Right. So that again interrupts the thinking process. But if our habit, our momentum of thinking is stronger, then we observe, observe, observe. No, I want to think. Yeah. Over time, with the awareness, yeah, with the awareness of mindfulness, then plus the application of the mind towards the object, then the thinking process is subdued. Yeah. And if you can do this consistently, then slowly samadhi arise, jhana arise, concentration arise. So then how does this help us in our day-to-day, moment-to-moment? Because if this becomes more and more pronounced, then even when you're not meditating, your mind is on alert. Yeah, it's on the alert. Yeah, but initially it still needs some effort. But over time, then becomes more and more frequent, more and more becoming your normal state of mind. Yeah, or using, I think is it psychology or neuroscience term, the default brain network. Yeah, our current default brain network is ting 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 ting. Yeah, our current state is going crazy about the eye, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Yeah, yeah, going crazy about the form, sound, smell, taste, touch, and mental object. Mine is busy. Yeah. Then when we meditate, yeah, that's why meditation can help us to become mindful and aware even when we're not meditating. Uh, it is indeed unfathomable, as Danny said. Yeah, when we think about it, how is it possible? And in fact, we can draw the wrong conclusion also. Not Danny, but many people draw the wrong conclusion because they may not have even started meditating, and then they try to imagine how it'll be like. Their conclusion is many times flawed or wrong. Yeah, and some of them end up thinking, wow, wouldn't that be very tiring? Because they don't understand what it means to be mindful. Yeah, and they don't understand what it means by the normal thinking process. Yeah, because they haven't get out of it, so they don't know what is it like. You know, there's a Zen story about the fish trying to look for the ocean. The fish trying to look for ocean. Yeah. So the big fish tell the small fish, there's something called the ocean. Then it's like, oh, where's the ocean? Then the big fish is like, well, inside it. Then, huh? How come I don't see the ocean? Where's the ocean? You're inside the ocean. So when you have never have jhana, all we know is thinking, 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 thinking. Yeah. Either thinking, 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 or totally knocked out, sleeping. No awareness. So we only understand this process. So when we hear about mindfulness, we think that it's about thinking about something also. So we oftentimes draw the wrong conclusion. Yeah. So don't worry, it's a very it's a restful state. Yeah. As you become more mindful, it becomes more restful. But restful doesn't mean sleep. Again, you see, when we say restful, those who haven't meditated before, they think it's just becoming like more and more blur and sleepy. Yeah, actually, it's becoming more and more aware and alert. And again, those who haven't meditated before, when you say more alert, then they're, huh? Then they think of, oh, cannot sleep. Then they think, oh, insomnia. Whole day alert. Wow, then that's even more tiring. So very hard to describe to people who don't meditate. Yeah. So that's why we usually focus on the technique. Just do the technique first. Or just do the technique. Okay.
So
Any other?
further question.
Okay.
So according to, I've not read the Abhidharma, and so according to Buddhist investigation, is it true to say that our mind is like a film strip?
Buddhist what?
Over the 2000 years of investigation by Buddhists, contemplation and investigation of the mind, is it true to say that our mind is, yeah, sorry.
Just now you said Buddhist something. I didn't catch the term.
Contemplation and investigation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So over the centuries, so is it true that the mind is a bit like a film strip, and when whatever we do, whatever we think, or whatever emotion we feel is one frame at a time?
Oh.
Let's say when we multitask this, we are not really using 2 or 3 film strips, right? It's just always one film strip, but then we say think, feel, think, drink water, move. Is one frame at a time, right? Is it that?
Yeah. So I have heard some venerables use this analogy before. This analogy is helpful to help people understand the impermanence. Yeah. That what appears to be a static thing, that means something that's permanent, is actually comprising of different things that is linked together. Yeah. Indeed, many masters have contemplated on this before. The Buddha in different texts describe impermanence in slightly different ways. Yeah. Sometimes he described like a lightning flash. Sometimes he described like a snap of the finger. Sometimes he described it like a fast arrow. Yeah, different descriptions. So my problem when I contemplate on this is I have a lot of other sources of knowledge, yeah, such as control and instrumentation. Yeah. Sis, can you remember control and instrumentation? See, because in her course, control and instrumentation, root locus, those are very fundamental in her course. Yeah. So the little I know about that, we learned something called Nyquist's theorem. Yeah. Sis, isn't it amazing that I can actually remember all these things? I don't know how I remember. So Nyquist, the long story short, the relation with Nyquist theorem and what Danny just mentioned, right, is that if we imagine, if we say that reality is like a film strip, we must understand what is a film strip. A film strip has individual cells, okay? And a typical film strip can be 24 or 25 frames Yeah, it's called frames because it is a frame. Yeah, there are usually 24 or 25 frames in that form up 1 second. That means when the film run, right, it must run at a rate where the what you call that, the 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 frame move away at a rate of 1/25. And the reason is because why 1/25? Why so special 1/25? It's because our eyes, our retina, has a persistence of vision of 1/12. So they do oversampling of 2, because Nyquist's theorem states that your sampling rate must be at least twice of the actual sample at the actual rate of change, so that you have no artifact. Yeah. So I will explain more later because I don't want to spend too much time explaining that. But those who are interested, you can stay back. Okay. Yeah. So the gist of it is, if we say that it is 1 frame at a time, then what is that unit of time for that frame? Yeah. Let's assume that it's 1/1000. Yeah. I mean, now there are atomic clocks, which is 1/, don't know how many millionth of a second, right? But let's assume it's 1/1000 for just for discussion's sake. So the question is, if the smallest unit of time is 1/million or 1/1000, then it means that everybody has to be in sync with this, because if it's an absolute unit of time, then everything must happen according to this. Yeah. So it's very interesting, because when I think about this, then a part of me is like, how is everybody synchronized? How are we synchronized to that unit of time? You know, that's the first question that popped up in my mind. Yeah. And actually, this dissection of the concept, right, was also done by masters thousands over years ago. Because they asked question, if you say that this is a smallest unit of time, this is linked to another teaching which says that all things arise and cease, yeah, within that unit of time. So some schools assert that all things arise and cease within that unit of time. So then they ask, so if it when you say that all things arise and cease within a unit of time, but that's the smallest unit, so only one thing can happen. Did it arise, did it stay, or did it cease? Yeah. So 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 then it brings up a lot more questions. Yeah. But usually the idea of a film strip is um, is meant to describe impermanence for general audience, to let people know that what we grasp onto is not what it seems. Because if you look at the film strip, each one is just a static moment. Yeah. Oh, the trouble with using that is, if you dig further, then the whole thing have a lot more other questions. Yeah. Oh, but it's a helpful tool. It's a helpful intermediary analogy or metaphor to help us understand impermanence. That what appears to have motion, actually no motion. Yeah. If you don't dig further, this is a very helpful tool. You know, 金刚经 无来无去. Yeah. Because the supposed motion actually don't exist. Yeah, because moment to moment is a different thing already. So by the time my hand move from here to here, this is a different hand from that. If it's a different hand, then this hand never move here. Yeah, not to mention my hand from here to here, but from here to here, the hand didn't move from here to here. It's a different hand. The moment you move, it's a different hand. But yeah. But again, I say some of these discussion or some of this analysis can go into an area where it is beyond our realm of attachment, yeah, or beyond our perceivable beyond our perceivable realm, yeah. And that's why I usually focus the teaching on impermanence, no self, and emptiness on the more gross level, which is where we function, right? For example, when we feel jealousy, when we feel sadness, when we feel anger, or we feel elation and joy, are we feeling elation because we we perceive each other as momentarily arising, ceasing, then we get happy and attached to it? We don't, yeah. For that matter, when you see someone that you are happy with, okay, your dear friend, and when you see your dear friend, you feel very happy, right? You see your loved ones, you feel very happy, right? When you see your, like, for example, May, now the doggy next to her, right? When the doggy come, yeah, or some of you like cats or whatever, whether it's your family, your cat or dog or whatever, do you look at the dog? Do you look at your family? Do you look at your lao ma and look at the person and say, oh, I have such strong attachment to the form, feelings, perception, mental formations, and consciousness. And even at that level, we don't. So much less the momentary level. So to me, when the masters go into that, it serves a purpose. But for most of us, actually, it's beyond our perceivable range already. So whenever we look at, I'm just highlighting the what you call that. I'm just highlighting the possible pitfall, when we do contemplation. I'll have to be careful. Yeah. So when we read some of these teachings that different teachers or masters give, right? They may be sharing at a certain level, yeah, but we must be careful whether we contemplate at a level that is applicable to us first. So after we do dedication, those who would like to hear more about Nyquist's theorem, you can stay back. Yeah. Okay, before we wrap up, Phyllis wrote, Shifu, realized this morning that I forgotten to take down my gold earring when I did my 8 precepts. Did I break the precept? So did you break the precept if you forgot? If you forgot, then you were not wearing your gold earring. Huh? You're not even aware that the gold earring is there. Huh? Correct? Yeah. So in terms of adornment, right, the particular precept, 不着香花蔓，香油涂身，不够苍鸡管观听. The first part, 不着香花蔓，香油涂身, is about adornment and so on. So it's a very conscious act. Yeah. Of course, if someone tell you, oh, after I observed the 8 precepts, I unconsciously went to put foundation, draw eyeliner, put on lipstick, then it's rubbish. I don't know. Every day I just do it unconsciously one. Now, y'all don't be surprised. How come Shifu know? Because I grew up with three sisters and one mother. I see this so many times when I was young. I know. Huh? Correct? This is how y'all do it, right? Yeah. Of course, some people will say, hey, but Shifu really, like, every day I just wake up and like unconscious one. But if it's so unconscious, then what are you doing observing it precepts? Oh, so as far as this is concerned, you didn't sort of consciously break it. You didn't directly break it, so it's because your adornment was already there, but you didn't even think about it, right? Unless halfway through you see it, then you're like, hey, oh, quite nice. So, hey. Well, then you look at mirror, right? Or unless that day, unless that day your earring is this size. This is CD. Hey, how come Singapore got a big earring? This one is CD, just so that you all know a CD. Unless your it's so big, then you tell me you didn't know, then rubbish. Okay, so don't worry. Yeah, but if it helps you to be more mindful, go and do repentance in front of Buddha and make a firm determination. You shall be more mindful, even more mindful, before, during, and after you observe the 8 precepts. Okay. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
愿消三障诸烦恼，
愿消三障诸烦恼，
愿得智慧真明了，
愿得智慧真明了，
不愿罪障悉消除，
不愿罪障悉消除，
世世常行菩萨道。
世世常行菩萨道。
阿弥陀佛。
阿弥陀佛。
Till we meet again, may be guided and protected by the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And as always,
乖乖。
have a mindful day ahead. Take care.
Thank you, 师父。
Bye bye.